Q&A time. You got questions and I've got answers. Having taken this thing to the track, ripping it apart, doing a couple mods on it, I think I've got some ideas. So I asked everybody in my Discord some good questions for this thing, and they delivered. If you want to get on that Discord, you need to sign up for either YouTube memberships or Patreons, low as $1 a month if you want. And for a lot of these videos, that's going to get you early access, extended cuts, ad-free, censor-free. Okay, Q&A on this thing. Let's get on it. Trent asked, is this better than a RMX 450Z, especially when used RMXs are 4 to 6K. He has one of those very rare RMX 450Zs. It's like a WR for Suzuki, like a WR 450. It's a higher maintenance, high strung enduro bike, like the CR 450 RLs or Sherco 500. I've got awesome bike. And yes, if you're looking for a pure bike, it's way better, of course. Dewey wants to know if he'll look cool wheeling it. Well, it's in video now. You've seen this. Katie basically asked, is it worth it? And he's talking about the price of this versus like a KLX and a bunch of other bikes. There's nothing that compares with it. Now, that doesn't mean that bikes like the 390 or KLX Supermoto here or whatever aren't going to be good and useful for what you want to use them for. But if you're looking for a day-to-day supermoto that's still a streetable supermoto, there's nothing in the class. So that's the problem with the price. Like Suzuki can kind of charge what they want. One thing real quick I did not really get into in the Q&A because I thought it was going to tie us into another video that didn't really work out. The 390 Supermoto, right? The 390 SMCR, you're wondering about that bike. It's cheaper than this bike. It has a 6-speed. The motor sounds like it might be a little better. My big concern with that bike is that it's built out of an adventure bike. It's heavy, the suspension travel's not as long, and I think it's going to have some odd geometry about it. Here comes a car down the road. Hey, Kia, that doesn't go anywhere. And they're leaving now. Off. He's gonna wave his hand at me. Not my fault you want to your neighbor down here. The 390 is built out of an odd platform, and I'm kind of worried about that's going to be. Now, there's a review I saw recently. I haven't done this myself. I'm relying on someone else's review. But there's some European guys like SP1000 or something, and they took both of those bikes on the track and on the street, and they said that the DR-Z had better bottom end. It's the suspension on the DR-Z was more like a real supermoto, where the 390, you may not want to jump it as much, they said. It didn't seem as confident. They said it had the weird bulge in the tank because they kept saying it was a street bike dressed up as a supermoto. I'm saying it's an adventure bike, but they said it seemed like a Duke 390 that with supermoto clothes on it and like a little bit longer suspension, but not long enough. So, and those are European guys. They also said even with a 6-speed that it is more vibrating going down the highway than the DR-Z is. It's actually worse on the highway. They said that this was more like a real supermoto. And so take it from them, European guys who love KTM. You could tell they did not want to say that about it. Avery asked how it compares to the stock DR-Z. It feels like a newer DR-Z. Like literally just feels like it. The fuel injection, the way it starts, the way it runs, drives, like everything about it will tell you it's a newer DR-Z. It does, like as much as I criticize it, it does feel like a new DR-Z in every way, shape, and form. And it's much smoother on the highway. The power's a little better. It's just that throttle response. That's the biggest thing I don't like about it. Of course, the stock CV36 carb isn't much better either. Rivet asks, how was the gearing? Now he's asking about highway. At this point of filming, I think the gear ratio is the same, but it manages it better. It's smoother, and you're not going to feel bad romping that thing down the highway. Do you think it'll get a 4 or 7 gallon tank made for it? Surely. Can it hold the older rear racks? Highly doubt it. The subframe and bolt points. Like, I heard one guy said he was able to get his old skid plate to fit the new DR-Z, but he had to drill holes and make some modifications. So the under cradle part's similar, but everything else is going to be in different spots. He's asking if we can basically bypass the sensor and run these cables directly in the throttle body. Not easily from what I can tell. There's even just, we pulled the door off, there's gears behind there, and just having the door off, there was a sensor, it tripped an FI light just by taking that door off. So no, and they do not want you tampering with it, clearly. Does the shifter have protection from punching a hole in the case? They have changed that. If you go look at my video where I did a detailed look at this thing, you can see we looked at those, and they have changed the shifter and the brake lever. I don't think they're going to puncture the case like the old one did. Can it use the same handlebar risers? No. This has the under part of the handlebar riser already built into it, and it's an oversized bar. FN Photographer asked, is it skidzily, rizzy, or whatever? I'm not young enough to know what that means. Noose wants to know how it does on bumpy roads, old washboard. Great. I'd say the suspension is somehow, they've done the job, because it's the old SMs and S's for that matter too, but especially the SMs were very soft in my opinion. And that's not a problem of the Showa 4, because just how they sprung and valid them. But these newer KYB suspension, this one has, I've flown down some rough roads and off-road bits with it. It handles it great. And but it is also more firm and able to tell what it's doing. The only thing I would even do to the suspension, like I said, is play with the clickers a little. It doesn't need much. And Formula wants to know, is it basically a WR450? Yes. That is an inside joke going way back in the day. It wants to know if a WR exhaust will fit on one. It's got a picture of, oh, poor Shane. Oh, the inside jokes. Thank you. I needed that. Hank, just the real question, can it wheelie? Oh yeah, of course it can wheelie. Big Red wants to know, is it worth it for a hooligan bike or should I convert a CRF 450 RL? You want a really low maintenance hooligan bike? That's the thing with these ones. They're sort of understressed, overbuilt. One of the reasons these bikes are heavier and have longer maintenance intervals. There's benefits to the 450 RL, like if you're doing some crazy maneuver stuff and whatever, but like honestly, like if you're gonna say like, I'm gonna stunt one, I would say do this over something like the 450 RL. I just feel like this is more durable for stuff like that. And it run a pool noodle as a muffler. Any bike can, but only for a few minutes. They tend to melt. Slowish is asking a question. In your opinion, is there enough legacy DR-Z owners to be excited enough to upgrade? Sure. I think they're going to get a lot of new customers over this. I think there's a lot of people that would never buy the old DR-Z because there's a really big hatred towards carburetors. I don't really get it personally, but yeah. Mayadamoto, good old Mayada here says, would you consider buying one or would you rather have a Dewey special? I get this. That sucks. It sucks. Sorry, Dewey. Dewey understands though. He's been to the racetrack. He saw this thing did on the track. Opinion on bold new graphics. Yeah, this is kind of sad. They should have done more. Noisy Boy, how's the throttle response? Weird. And I think it's fixed with a flash. It seems very much like it. Megatron, approximately how many Costco hot dogs would it take to fill the tank? Well, I think it's like a 2.5, 3 gallon tank. So someone needs to work the math out for that and we'll get back to you. Kurt wants to know, would you rather buy the new or old generation brand new? No, for brand new, you get this one. If you're trying to save money, go find a used nice one. Matt Cans asked about the graphics. Yeah, it needs them. It needs them to cover up all these little scratches. Not only does this black show scratches really easy, this white kind of does too, to be honest with you. Oh, good old Spicy 110. Spicy 110. He's my good old buddy, and he's going through some stuff right now. And if you're a fan of his, go to his channel, look at his video he just put up. How's the quality of the plastics, old versus new? They scratch easy, but they're also really flexy. They're very flexy, and we like that because it means they're not going to break as easy. It just needs a graphics kit. Megan wants to know the difference with the transmission gearing. We think it's exactly the same. Mr. DR-Z Whisperer himself said, would you consider getting a stock flash done at Texas Superbikes? Yes, certainly I would. If you're going to get someone to tune it, they need to make sure they're also looking at the throttle mapping, because when you crack this thing 100%, it's only 100% in a few spots. And so there's some weird stuff with that. And you need to get that made more linear and correct. Yeah, no, I would definitely get it tuned. If I had more time with it, I would have gone there. That guy at Texas Superbikes was like on vacation out of the country for several weeks, so we never got to work that out. How's the fuel economy compared to the carbureted DR-Z? Asks Matt. We talked about that in the highway video. I don't know how it compares to the stock DR-Z. I'm trying to remember. I think it's similar. My old DR-Z would get about 45 to 50 miles to gallon, but it was like modified with E-cams and a flat slide pumper. My brother, Mr. Madman, asked, what's the best improvements about the new DR-Z? I guess it's the engine, which seems like the same engine with fuel injected bolted onto it. It's more powerful, it's smoother, it just needs the throttle response fixed, which gets fixed with tuning. What's the worst thing about the new DR-Z? Just all the added baggage that comes with EFI, catalytic converters and whatnot, and all the crap they have to add to it. And just everything new they build now anyway just seems to have too much extra stuff on it, unless it's like a race machine. Like if you saw the video where I'm tearing it apart, like it just seems like there's a bunch of plastic around the battery box, and there's just this and that, and it makes it heavy, and I don't know. And the price. And then he wants to know if the new DR-Z is going to be the go-to standard supermoto that everyone should get. If people can understand what it is, yes. Yes. Tech J's, are there still a stupid amount of aftermarket parts available for it? The old parts, most of them are not going to work on this, but it's a DR-Z. They're going to come out with a bunch of parts. Avery asks, should we put a 19-inch front wheel on it? Of course. Is the DR-Z gearing comparable to a DR-650? He has a 650. No, the DR-650 is much taller, but also those engines rev a lot lower. You know, that's the always thing we always think of these big 650s. Oh, they keep the RPMs down on the highway, but they redline at like $8,000. Everything's like $2,000 lower because of that. So no, it doesn't really compare, but I actually think this thing does really good on the highway. I think that's kind of what you're getting at. Is it better at 70? Asks Spicy. Yes. I'm going to summarize this. JD is asking about the price of tuning this thing, and if that's actually better than just rejetting a carburetor. Jetting a carburetor is almost always cheaper than just than tuning something. But the problem is with the older DR-Zs is if you really want to make them work right, you need to put a flat slide pumper on that, and that can cost you over $1,000. It's about $350 from what I've seen from like that Mafia tuning guy to flash these things.
And man, does it seem good once you do that. So Moose wants to know, does it come with cruise control? No, and that's always so silly to me. Bikes that have fly-by-wire, why don't they just, it seems like a button in software. I don't know why they don't do it. Tyler says that toolbox panel thing is goofy as hell. Yep. Not a question, but I agree. Thanks for the questions. I'll probably do some new ones on that thing here real soon. So if you're in there, get those questions in. Those are always really, really helpful. Thanks, guys.
Have any more questions, ask them in the comments. Go to the playlist too. I was a non-believer of this bike. I had a lot of criticisms about it and I changed my mind. So I wanted to hate it. Also, last day to get it on the giveaway. Have a good one.